there on our other stream. So again, here we are, 8:06 on Tuesday, August the 5th. Right now, what I want to show you all is, we're going to start with a big story. And while that's happening, I just want to make sure I'm able to find a particular piece of video that I was hoping was going to show up somewhere else in this file. But hopefully everyone is going, their day is going about pretty well on this Tuesday. Appreciate everyone, their time joining us here. What I was hoping to check out, oh boy. Okay. I will, this is the beauty of streaming live TV. We're going to work our way around it. I'll back to that other story I was going to show you. But okay, we're going to start with the big story I wanted to talk about is this arrest from Clarksville police announcing they made 3 arrests from a shooting. If you remember this story, it was a massive party. It happened on May 31st. Over 100 people inside, cramped into the small apartment, many of them actually teenagers, as police told us, converging on this apartment on Green Tree Boulevard. 5 people ended up shot. Thankfully, everybody survived. I wanted to see if I could play the video of that particular scene for you here. Okay, so this is what it looks like on a quiet afternoon. This is what our crews were able to get alongside our Wave News reporter, David Mattingly, who, as it turned out, he found out Clarksville police were having a really difficult time getting witnesses to talk, to come forward with information. Apparently, the explanation police gave in a press conference today was a lot of these young partygoers did not want their parents to find out where they were, what they had been doing with as many people as apparently they had been doing. But in the end, police have now arrested 3 people, and I'm pulling up their mugs so you could see that. This is from the files from Clarksville police. 2 accused shooters and the woman who leases the apartment. So that would be the 2 alleged shooters, Kyron Murphy Gant and Luke Elliott, ages 21 and 20 respectively, charged with criminal recklessness as bullets were fired into 2 apartments. You had seen a little bit earlier there. I'm going to play that video back again. It happened at the Bend apartment complex. Apparently, the party was advertised on Snapchat. It drew scores of young people looking for a good time. Police arrived to find what was described as a stampede of people running away from the scene. And when police put out an appeal for information, again, very few witnesses came forward. It provoked a familiar enforcement officer's appeal to parents. And I'm going to quote a little bit of what the detective, Captain Jack Kennedy, said, quote, "Please start parenting your kids. Don't rely on us doing it after the fact when we are on defense. You are in a role where you can play offense. You can be ahead of this." So that was the statement from Detective Kennedy this evening, or I should say this afternoon, in talking to our cameras at a press conference. Now, we also were told today both shooting suspects claimed that they fired their weapons in self-defense. Only one of the suspects was among the 5 who were wounded, including 3 teens. I'm going to show you that graphic again for the 3rd party that officers arrested. 20-year-old Malia Rowland. She faces charges related to underage drinking and consumption of controlled substances. So that is the update from our David Mattingly on his report from this arrest at a wild party in Clarksville just as summer was about to start. All right, so we have another update for you from across the river. This has to do with the Jamie Knoll saga, as it were, and his estranged wife, Misty Knoll, will not have to stand trial at all. Special Judge Larry Medlock confirmed her guilty plea to theft, to tax evasion, and canceled a contempt hearing after Knoll withdrew her request. We found out recently, she withdrew her request for a new judge and to get a new hearing. You saw images of there in the last time both Misty Knoll and Judge Larry Medlock were in that courtroom. So again, this stems from when we first let you know that these interviews Misty Knoll gave to some TV stations before her sentencing, where she was saying she did not knowingly commit her crimes, even though she had said the opposite while in a courtroom. So in this ruling, we just found out this afternoon and shared on Wave News, Judge Medlock saying Knoll has a First Amendment right to speak and try to determine whether her press statements undid her guilty plea was more trouble than it was worth. This was as our Mark Stevens was putting everything together and just looking at what the judge had written in his order. The judge also saying the court does not have the ability to punish Knoll for following misguided advice from someone other than her lawyer. Who that is was not referred to specifically in the judge's document. Medlock wrapped up the order, though, saying the court of public opinion will have to decide which version of Knoll's story to believe. The version she told in court or the version she told the public. Knoll is serving a 1.5 years in prison, followed by 4.5 years of probation. All right. So that is just to start a bit of the roundup of headlines and stories we have for you tonight on Wave Extra. We're going to take a break that's a little shorter, quicker than we usually do to start the evening, but hope you stay with us because we're going to go over a lot more stories. In fact, speaking of Mark Stevens coming up after this quick break, it's a follow-up on his Troubleshooters investigation into a contract that has to deal with building more homes, affordable housing, but just for a company that we had been looking into and saying how long has it taken to sort of build the prototype that they'd been asked to do so. So we're going to have that for you right after the break here on Wave Extra. All right, everyone, thanks for sticking with us here on Wave Extra 814 on your Tuesday, August 5th. So, alluding to the story I was setting up for you all, coming back here tonight. It's a timeline that's fallen a year behind schedule. A company called MMYUS, a deal with the city of Louisville, Metro government, had cut a ribbon on the first of 5 prefabricated homes planning to build. At least that's the plan to do so around the city. Now, the Troubleshooters, if you remember the beginning of this investigation, found that besides behind being scheduled, the company also was not meeting its local workforce requirements, so hiring people from the local community to be involved in these projects. Wave News troubleshooter Mark Stevens says apparently the plan for this property that we went to go check out also changed. As Mark was letting us know, MMYUS was going to build what's called a mother-in-law apartment in the backyard. The city saying today Family Scholar House decided to drop this plan to cut on costs, speed up the project, and it's another goalpost, as it were, being moved on this taxpayer-funded project. So here is Mark Stevens' report.
This CEO didn't want us asking any hard questions Tuesday.
Yeah, as I said, today's about the family, it's about the home, it's about the League Platinum, it's about being the first League Platinum home in the US. Reach out with any other questions.
He didn't want to say on camera whether MMY US currently has more than 4 workers from zip codes of 1.2 million taxpayer-funded factory in the Parkland neighborhood. Wave previously reported that part of an agreement with the city was that 75% of the company's employees needed to be from those zip codes surrounding the factory. Tuesday, MMY emailed us to say it now has 15 on the payroll, meeting that requirement, still short of the 60 it needs based on its city filing in April. Family Scholar House partners with MMY and has a 10% stake in the company, according to state filings. Its CEO, Kathy Dykstra, says transferring the deed to finish this property took a long time.
We've been delighted to have this in the works, but we just needed the deed transferred.
City records showed the deed was transferred in June last year, and we previously reported the land bank was told the projects would be complete last summer. The city says these vacant lots on South 18th Street are still on hold. The company will instead build a new home at 1415 South 28th because the plans are already approved by the state. Dykstra says her nonprofit will also cover the gap between the construction cost and the sales price.
Family Scholar House, parent company family, is covering the gap. There is an agreement with Louisville Metro government that they'll help with, think of it as bridge financing, so that you have money while you're building it.
MMY's city filings say this home cost about $300,000 to build. It plans to sell it for $220,000. Family Scholar House said it was also waiting for appraisals before selling it to a family who meets the income requirements.
And so there's what our Mark Stevens was able to get, and you saw that initial attempt at a conversation with the CEO of MMY US. Now, the House appears to still need that final city inspection, so it needs to pass that. LG&E has also not attached the House to its grid just yet, but the utility says that in itself is a pretty quick process once they are notified that it has passed the final city inspection. So certainly something, as we like to say here on Wave Extra, worth following up on when and if that time comes. More stories for you this evening. We've learned the man accused of causing a crash that killed a Jefferson County teacher back last year in 2024, well, he will go on trial next year. Here are the images we have. Adam Sanders is back in Metro Corrections custody on a $250,000 bond. Now, he was out on 10% of that when he was arrested for domestic violence assault in Oldham County July 5th. So this new arrest from Oldham just last month of July. Now, in Louisville, Sanders is facing murder and DUI charges for a car crash on Taylorsville Road that killed Arundina Lane. Today, the judge scheduled that trial to start on June 29th of 2026, so June of next year. The Oldham County case is still working its way through the court, so that's an update for you all from that end. Now, moving on to our next story. Some classroom assignments at Moore High School are going to have to be adjusted. This is sort of the aftermath, trying to game plan what to do after last week's fire. So if you remember, it happened Friday inside Moore's Medical Arts building. The fire was minor, though it did cause quite a smoke damage. No one was hurt, and the source of the fire, firefighters were able to find it, put it out very quickly. JCPS says some classes are going to be impacted as students prepare to head back to the classroom.
That we will be able to use a couple of classrooms in that section of the building here soon. We're doing indoor air quality testing. Obviously, we won't put any students there if we find that it may be unsafe, but the long-term recovery from that will take a couple of months to be able to rebuild that, repaint it, and do all of that.
In the meantime, Louisville Fire's Arson Bureau and JCPS are investigating the fire. Whenever they do come out with that determination, if we're able to get that information, we'll make sure to send you those updates to your apps on your smartphones for sure. All right, coming up very quick after this break, we're going to stay on the subject of getting ready to go back to school. Just some reporting updates from two members of our team, our Fernando Garcia-Franciscini and our Kirsten Foote. One having to focus in on what it's been taking, educators, families, the stakeholders to get ready to go back to school for JCPS on Thursday. And for Kirsten, I guess following in a shadow footstep, but to see what the new superintendent has been up to, gearing up for this very big day, first day of the of on the job once school starts. So we'll phrase it that way. Dr. Brian Yearwood's first day of classes as the new JCPS superintendent. So we're going to take a quick break and be right back on Wave Extra. All right, folks, welcome back. Here we are, 8:22 on this Tuesday evening. As you've been hearing me remind everybody, but of course, this doesn't apply for families in other school districts in Wave Country who, for you, the school year has already started. So hopefully things are going as smooth as they can for you all out there. As for Kentucky's largest school district, going back to classes in less than 2 days, JCPS leaders are anticipating what they hope is a smooth, successful start to the new year. Here is one of our updates to share with you from Wave News reporter Fernando Garcia Franceschini. He talked to district leaders today, and he wanted to ask what families need to know heading into the back half of the week, but a very busy day for them. So in his case, reminder that it's a year under new leadership when it comes to Dr. Brian Yearwood as new superintendent, that he has a goal of seeing every child improves at least a grade level in math and reading in a year's time, and that for him a smooth start to the school year is going to set students up for success. So here is Fernando's update.
This will be Dr. Brian Yearwood's first school year as JCPS superintendent. He came into the job with a goal. He says he wants every student to improve at least one grade level in math and reading in a year's time. And he says a successful start to the school year will set up students to achieve just that.
This is my first opening day of school at JCPS, and I'm here to tell you that we are ready. We are ready. We are locked in and ready for this day.
Superintendent Dr. Brian Yearwood is predicting a successful start to the school year for JCPS students. He says free breakfast and lunches will be available for students in every school.
This will ensure that students, every student, has access to at least 2 nutritious meals every single day they're in school. No one will be hungry.
Dr. Yearwood says safety is top of mind for the district. For the first time, 6th grade students will be greeted with metal detectors as they enter their new schools. When it comes to transportation, the district says it has enough drivers to cover all bus routes. Chief Operations Officer Rob Falk says they worked through the weekend to make corrections to timing and route sheets.
Our drivers have been practicing now for 2 weeks, running their routes, but obviously there'll be a bit of an adaptation period for traffic patterns around schools.
JCPS leaders are also asking parents to check their students' vaccination records before Thursday, particularly when it comes to the MMR vaccine.
We know we've got about 9,100 kids in JCPS who at the end of May did not show as current on their measles, mumps, rubella vaccine.
Students will also be greeted by a couple of other changes this school year. A new Kentucky law bans the use of cell phones during instructional time. Now, JCPS says that policy varies from school to school, and also there will now be mandated daily moments of silence. Reporting from outside Mezquite Middle School, Fernando Garcia, Francis Sheeny, Wave News.
Talking about other school stories, today Volunteers of America did its part in distributing school supplies to the kids that they help and serve. VOA and volunteers from Train Supply helped get together, distribute around 25 backpacks to kids. They went to the kids who were living at VOA's Family Emergency Center. It's called the Unity House. All the kids lined up and get to shop, as it were, for their favorite backpacks if they like a design, stuff them full of the supplies they like the most or the ones that they know they need. Some of the items include folders, pencils, scissors, and more of what they're going to need for the first day of class.
They're just so excited to see the backpacks and pick the one they want and pick out all the colors of the folders and all that. It's been amazing. I was like overwhelmed to see how much we were able to get donated just like in that short amount of time. Everyone was so generous to give and give back to the kids.
And the donations were all collected through VOA's Back to School fundraising campaign. All right, moving on to this other story I want to let you know about in other parts of Kentucky. So a little not quite within the big core for you all checking in from Wave Country, but a lot of swirling questions now over leadership in a southern Kentucky city, city council in London. Apparently, the expectation is they're going to have a hearing later this month. Many members of the body now calling for the mayor to be impeached. Reporter Phil Pendleton is looking into, as the city council, why they're citing more than a dozen cases of misconduct, while the mayor, in reply, saying all of those claims are unfounded.
There are 14 allegations of misconduct that city council persons have against London Mayor Randall Weddle. He's accused of hiring people for positions not approved by the council, paying employees excessively, to not living in city limits.
Whether he did it or not, that's for the evidentiary hearing. That's for the actual removal proceeding on August 20th.
But Mayor Weddle claims problems go back to when he was first elected in 2022, and people are now in the corner of the man that he beat, Judd Weaver, who was appointed to the council.
How does a guy get beat in an election? The public did not want him as mayor, and this council has appointed him after we had one to resign.
Most of the city council persons that I spoke with simply referred me to their attorney, but Councilman Anthony Ortega sent me a statement claiming that the mayor has not acted within the law. And he also says in that statement that the mayor believes that the Kentucky revised statutes are merely suggestions. Ortega also questions why 8 months after Doug Harless was shot and killed by police, there are no answers. Weddle says he believes there's a faction that points to that deadly shooting, but says it runs deeper.
The community's had too much going on. You know, I hate that they've decided now to have their petty politics.
I'm not sure how the city politics are relevant to this. This is, at least as far as I'm concerned, this is just about ensuring that the city is following the law.
Roberts says the vote to have the evidentiary hearing had to be a majority vote, but he says for Weddle to be impeached, it needs to be unanimous. In Laurel County, Phil Pendleton, WKYT.
And again, if a public hearing is held to discuss that impeachment of Mayor Weddle, it would take place on August 20th. So whatever happens there, we'll make sure to reach out to our network of reporting teams to see what comes of that decision for the London City Council. We're going to take another quick commercial break. Be right back here on Wave Extra. So I hope you stick around. All right, folks, welcome back to Wave Extra, and we've got more updates on some stories, breaking that down for you. Some things we're, of course, going to share with you later tonight on Wave News at 11. It'll be the whole team, at least for the Tuesday, myself, with Chief Meteorologist Kevin Harnett and reporter Logan Perrone, getting you the latest as we wrap up this Tuesday, kind of hitting that midpoint of the week and looking forward to the rest of this beginning of August, and with our eyes clearly ahead on quite the massive start to the new school year. So an update from the National Weather Service. Apparently they're now in the process of hiring back hundreds of workers after massive cuts and a federal hiring freeze. And so here's what we're able to learn, that the NWS says it's going to hire back 450 meteorologists, hydrologists, and radar technicians. Now, the rehires include 120 plus new positions that were previously approved and funded. The staff cutbacks were carried out earlier this year by the Department of Government Efficiency, so it was a DOGE decision back then. More than 500 weather employees were let go or forced into retirement as a directive from the Trump administration in Washington, D.C. So one update for you all there. Now, coming back to something a little closer. This was at the Louisville Metro Housing Authority's properties here. LDG Development hosted one of these listening sessions. It was to get neighbors' input on the soon-to-be-built new Dosker Manor. So it's meant to be a new affordable housing complex built in the Smoketown neighborhood at the side of the old First Link grocery store, if anybody's familiar with that. Developers heard from current and former residents, renters of Dosker Manor, that is going to be demolished soon. They heard some concerns and what some people would like to see added to the development, especially considering it's meant for renters that are 55 and older.
We learned a lot from Dosker Manor. We learned that having two central elevators in a big high-rise full of people with physical mobility challenges is difficult if you can't keep those elevators running, for example. So the new buildings coming in will be fewer stories.
And again, we know how long ago the old Dosker Manor was built, back in the 60s. Groundbreaking for the new facility has not been announced yet. We will let you know as soon as that date becomes a much more fixed point in time. And now moving on to one more little update, and here's our aerial view from the drone. Mayor Craig Greenberg sharing this update on Louisville's Champions Park, that it's going to be near the corner of River Road and Zorn Avenue. And years past, it was the site of a lot of music festivals before those were moved over to the Highland Festival grounds at the Expo Center. Greenberg saying there's been a lot of interest in revamping Champions Park and the area surrounding it. Just part of his quote here, that the Office of Planning feedback from the community on potential issues, or uses, I should say. We're going to listen to the community before we begin the planning for what's next in and around Champions Park and River Road. So quote there from Mayor Greenberg himself. What I want to show you now is a very quick graphic. The city says it's going to host 2 listening sessions so they can hear your ideas, whatever you'd like to pitch as an addition and an amenity. Those are going to be first on August 11th at the Lynn Family Practice Facility. That's 801 Edith Road. You see the address right there. The next one would be on August 13th at Locust Grove. And the city says it's also going to open up a survey soon for people to fill out their commentary online. So something to look forward to there as well. All right, as a reminder, moving everyone here, you can always get the latest updates, breaking news headlines. All it takes is a very simple click, wave3.com. There at the very top of the page, and we can take you down on all those stories here in our own backyard, across Wave Country, and just everything you would need to check in on. A great resource to have right there. And we always, of course, also send you those push alerts, so make sure you have that setting adjusted on your smartphones, on the Wave app, the Wave Now app on your smart TVs as well, and the Wave weather content from the storm tracking team, always working to make sure you have the latest information to keep you all safe and informed. All right, that is going to do it for us on tonight's edition. Looking forward to tomorrow, Wednesday, for all the latest breaking news, updates, and headlines. We will be here in the Wave Now studio to share that with you. Always appreciate your time if you're joining us on your preferred method on the Wave Now app, or for the folks joining us from Facebook, YouTube, X, and Twitch. So take care, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow, Wednesday, August 8th.